Welcome to the Wise Dome podcast, a series that is so much more than just a podcast series. This is a movement towards a lifestyle you know you deserve. It's all about the ease of inspiring and sharing your knowledge and experiences online. I'm your host, Nikki Kelly, and I have always admired those who share their wisdom, those who have decided to inspire others. Just like my guests, I found my version of inspiring others by sharing my wisdom and created a lifestyle I wanted, and I'm going to share all the secrets for how you can too. On this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Remember, inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire? Welcome to the Wise Dome, and today we're chatting with Shiraz. Shiraz is an award-winning author, international speaker, and transformational coach. Entrepreneurs and coaches hire him to rewrite their business stories, and with them, their reality, because most people are unknowingly addicted to stories of adversity and struggle and left with a lack of success, confidence, and freedom. Shiraz, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Wise Dome podcast.
Thanks for having me, Nick. It's great to be here.
Lovely. Now, let's start off with how you got started with your coaching business. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I started off wanting nothing to do with coaching and actually not knowing what coaching is. So I went to university to study molecular genetics. I was actually in the best shape of my life. I was a bodybuilder. Yep. And everything was just looking amazing. I was going to get my doctorate and the world was my oyster. But the world didn't give me pearls. It gave me arthritis. Oh. And I don't mean like my body got really sore arthritis. I mean intense pain in every joint in my body.
Wow.
There were nights I sipped my dinner through a straw because my jaw was so swollen and painful. So every joint in my body. And I would have to spend days or weeks in bed. I tried all sorts of things to take care of it, like medication, diet, supplements. We even started doing like acupuncture and things. And crazy thing was everything worked for a little while. And then it just stopped working.
Yeah.
And tried to figure out what was going on, but nothing seemed to work. Eventually, I built up enough of pain tolerance that I could actually go and function in the world. I've finished my education, although I finished in computers, and then got a job. And, you know, have you ever been in that situation where you figured you've got everything going, the world is just set up for you, and then all of a sudden, bam! Right? Yep. Like, what the hell just happened? Right?
Exactly.
And yeah, so that's the situation I was in. And now I've decided to do a different career. I'm going through it. But even then, I remember, I would be going to work, and for arthritics, it takes anywhere between 2 and 10 times as much energy to do the same thing as a normal person.
Right.
So you tire really quickly, and plus you're dealing with pain. And I remember being in meeting rooms, and this one time in particular, it was the Monday. One of the big guys there just came in and he's complaining about the pain in his back because he was playing too much tennis on the weekend. And he's like, oh, life can be so rough. And I'm looking at him. And have you ever looked at someone and they're complaining about their little stuff? And if you had the same conditions as them, you'd just be flying right by them. Right? Yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's what. And I'm just quietly just like, okay, this is what's happening. And yeah, that was my life for almost 20 years. And eventually, I had a conversation with my father, and I said, look, we've tried a bunch of things. Is there anything you've heard of recently that we haven't tried? And he said, I recently heard about a program called combined therapy that's being done over in India. So they've had successes with multiple illnesses. And I'm like, multiple? Now that caught my attention because it's usually you go here for arthritis, you go here for cancer. Yeah. So he's like, no, they were helping everyone. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. So I get on a plane, I head over to India. And because it's India, at this point I'm thinking it's some guy that's going to do that Reiki, lay on hands thing.
Sort of, yeah.
Here we go, heal you.
Yeah.
And, but that didn't happen. I sat down with this guy and he just talked to me for 2 weeks. And it was kind of like being with the psychiatrist, except he was just asking questions. He was just exploring, getting all these details on my life and what happened.
Right.
And at the end, that was it. I didn't know what the point was. But at the end, he just goes, so here's the problem. You believe you're responsible for everyone in your life. And I said, no, I don't. And he said, I know you don't consciously think that, but from everything you've told me, you formed a belief that you were responsible for everyone in your life, starting when you were around 8 years old. And it's just built through your life. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I know I'm a responsible guy, but I don't think I'm responsible for everyone. Right? And I said, but what does it even have to do with arthritis?
Yeah.
And he said, you don't want to be responsible for everyone. That's just too much. I said, yeah. And if you're lying in bed in pain, you don't have to be responsible for anyone, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. And no one can judge you for it. It's the solution to a problem you don't even know you have.
Right.
I said, that's messed up, right? And he said, most chronic illnesses are solutions to problems people don't realize they have.
Right. So it's conjured up, like you just...
Yeah. And it's not even like you think you have the illness, because my body was physically deteriorating. Mm. I was in pain. There was physical swelling and stuff, but it was my body's solution to this problem.
Right.
And people are doing this all the time, and they don't know it. And so I thought about it. I said, so wait a second. If what you're saying is true, all I have to do is say I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me, and I shouldn't have arthritis anymore. Right? And I'm just like calling him out because I don't really believe that. Yeah. So he said, no, if you actually mean it deep down, you have that belief now that you're not responsible for anyone but you, then you don't need the arthritis. Mm. So I said, okay, fine. I'm not going to be responsible for anyone but me. The next morning I woke up, I had no pain, no inflammation, more mobility, and I'm even breathing better.
Oh, wow.
Freaking out. What the hell just happened? I'm like testing the joints and I'm moving around. I'm like, what is going on? Now, the damage was still there, but now that the swelling's down, I had more mobility. Mm. And what was crazy is there's this track that is at the place we were at, and people are just jogging around the track. But I was there every day since I got there doing this old man shuffle, because that's about as much mobility as I could get. Yeah. Right? And I'd be getting passed by the joggers, but I'd also be getting passed by 60, 70-year-old people as I'm just doing this thing. And that day I got out of that track and I'm passing people. And they're looking at me going, what the hell is going on?
Oh, God.
And I went home and people are like, what's happening? Your limp is gone. You're moving better. What is going on?
Yeah.
And it just freaked everyone out. But I started looking into this. Mm. And I found out this isn't just about illness. Mm-hmm. This is why you don't have as much money as you want. This is why you don't have the career you want. This is why you don't have the relationships you want. Because if it's a consistent problem you can't get through, or a reoccurring problem that happens over and over again, it's not a problem. It's a solution for another problem you're not looking at.
Right.
Right. And when you find that other problem and solve it, the problem you think you have to deal with tends to just go away, sometimes in stages, but sometimes all at once, right? And it's crazy, because when I've worked with people, we'll get to the actual problem, and then they'll see a shift that can happen so quickly. They said it's like a reality just shifted around them.
Yeah.
Right? And so I started calling myself a reality shifting specialist, and that's actually my book there, How to Rewrite Reality. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started my business. I just started doing this for people. And the interesting thing is I started in Toronto, and I was getting my business in Toronto, but then I started getting inquiries from Vancouver and, and places in the States and a couple places in England. And so then I started to take things online.
Yeah.
And so I had this sort of hybrid business. And what was really amusing to me was the local stuff started to get harder, not to get people in it, but the venues would start raising their prices. Even the place that I've been working with, they started booking people into what were my regular slots. And I was just getting so frustrated. Uh-huh. And I said, you know what? I wish I could just take the whole damn thing online.
Yeah.
And the next week, COVID hit. Right? And I'm like, well, there we go.
There you go. You wished it.
It's happening. And it actually made everything easier. Mm. Because it's just now the audience is right there. I can work with people anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And with like the scheduling apps, it just goes out, reminders go out. It's so much easier. And then I don't have to deal with, like, even when I did stuff in person, people would have to, I don't know how to get there, give me the directions. And I'm like, now it's just like, here's your link. Just click on that. We're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And plus, after doing a workshop, I got to clean the whole place up. Now I don't have to clean up anything. Right.
Yeah. Logistics can be a real pain, but when it's online, like you said, click that button and you're done. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Yeah.
That's it. That's how I got here.
And isn't it amazing? I was just talking to someone just the other day, and she was actually talking about, that whole self-sabotage thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to get your head around, isn't it, when you're just not in that space, or you think you're not in that space.
Yeah.
And then when you start sort of diving into it a little bit more, we all start obviously from some sort of pain or challenge that we've gone through, or many of us do anyway. And you obviously have a passion behind it because you persevered. And how long have you been doing this for now?
I'm doing it for 8 years now.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And how have you found, when you've taken your wisdom business online, is there anything that you learned in particular with how you set it up? Obviously, you do your webinars and so forth online and everything, but is there anything that you've changed or altered since you've been online to share your wisdom across to people?
There's a few tweaks and things you need to do depending on the audience and the group.
Yeah.
Like when I do a big event, I always make sure no one can private chat because then sometimes people are private chatting people that don't want to be private chatted, and there's no way to actually just stop them from doing it. So you've got to sort of manage that.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just easy. Like, especially with Zoom, with the way they set up breakout rooms to help people out, it just keeps getting better. The platform keeps getting better. Mm-hmm. And just follow up online is easy as well. Right? Yeah. I know a lot of people are going back to in person, and I'm happy to do in person because I love being on stage. I feel at home on stage.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just so easy to do it online. And there's a stigma that it's like, I'm going to have to learn all this technology and it's going to be tough and everything, but it's actually a lot easier. Mm. And the software is designed to make it easy for you.
Well, there's convenience in there, convenience for both parties as well. Like they don't have to drive, find parking or, accommodation if they're coming to see you. And so it's just the convenience of online is fantastic. And obviously, finding the right, technology to help you and so forth is another thing. Is there, with regards to how you, send your message across to people, and when you're sharing, your message and everything, did you change anything in particular with, from going the live, face-to-face to online? Did you change anything there, or, the follow-up or the feedback requests and stuff like that?
Little bits and pieces, but again, it might just have been based on the venue, because the venues I was speaking at didn't have projector screens. So I didn't have like a PowerPoint presentation. But now in Zoom, if I want to do a PowerPoint, you just bring it up and you go.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is it's even got like the Blackboard function. So I can just, let me just write this down. And I remember being on stage and trying to figure out, how do I show this to people?
I know.
And it makes it easier.
Yeah.
As far as how I present, one of the things, when you're on stage, you're dealing with that live background. You can, if it's your place, you can decorate it any way you want. Mm-hmm. But now, like, people are always commenting on my Superman bookshelf. Yeah. Every networking group I go to, someone comments on it. And when I do a workshop, one of the new people that's never seen me before is like, holy crap, look at that. So, and this is the thing, you want your background to have an impact on people. You don't want it to be so distracting that they don't see you anymore.
Yeah.
But you want them to pull you in. You've got to have the color. Like, you can see the colors are all lining up, right? And you want people to be drawn to you, especially if you're doing something like a networking event. like there's all just this squares everywhere. But if your background is special, if it's got certain colors, everyone gets pulled into you. They want to learn more about you. They're focused on you. So that's one thing you've got to learn when you're working online. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Right? There are even programs now where you can get little scrolling things there, or little animations going on in the background. And you don't want to make it too much because if it's too distracting, people aren't going to see you. They're just going to see your stuff.
That's right.
But absolutely use everything you can to your advantage.
And with respect to that, obviously when you're sharing things and, visuals, like this is a podcast, it's audio. So just explain to people, your background is a Superman sort of shelving system. That's the Superman emblem and that. And it's all, you've got it color coordinated, especially with your shirt, purple shirt, and it reflects onto the books and so forth, and coming from an interiors background, spot on. So, I think it's great. But with regards to, your audience, obviously, as you've gone over with time, sharing, online and everything, was there any sort of thing that you changed along the way based on your audience's reviews?
It's still the same information.
Right. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that's changed is everyone's asking for recordings, which I can do online, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's easier to get it to them because when you're in person and people are wanting recordings, now you've got to start writing down all the email addresses, but who's on your podcast, your webinar, your seminar, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can just set automation to send everything out.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And I guess because we're all in different locations now, some people can't get on live. So getting the recorded version is very helpful. And you're building up your assets too in that way as well, aren't you? So having all your recorded.
Okay. So here's a thing that's here's an amazing tip that was taught to me, and I use it all the time, is I do a free webinar every month.
Right.
It's interactive. So I work on different people.
Yeah.
And so some people will do their webinar and then just record it, make it evergreen, and it just runs forever. But the reason I do mine interactive is because I coach a couple people during the webinar, just short little 5-minute segments.
Yeah.
So what happens from there is my assistant takes that recording, cuts out those segments, and they get posted as YouTube videos.
Fantastic.
Right? So now every time I do this each month, I get a couple YouTube videos that's building my YouTube library.
Yeah.
Then she listens to what's going on, and she'll find a really cool quote I say to someone, and she'll create a meme out of that and then send those out on Instagram and Pinterest. So that's going out constantly.
Yeah.
And for those people that aren't actually following it, for my mailing list, every Wednesday, I put out an email. It's called Wednesday Wisdom. And Wednesday Wisdom is just one of those memes and one of those videos going out to my mailing list, so they get it anyway. So it's just being reused,
recycling your content and
over and over. And the other thing is, if it's a really good thing, if I get onto I don't want to call it a rant, but if I just get on a passionate talk about something, then we'll take that and just take the transcription, and now it's a blog post. Right. So,
isn't that amazing? Yeah, you can just
there's just so much that comes out of it. And it's just a 1-hour workshop I do each month, and like half an hour of it is the same to me, just saying the same thing, because it's for new people to come in to meet me for the first time. Yeah. But then we do the actual one-on-one coaching and the content.
Amazing. And that's, I guess, for any content sharer out there, or anyone who's thinking of, becoming someone who shares content, knowledge, whatever out there, there are so many different ways to utilize that one little bit of information and just, use it across so many different ways. And it's great that you do that, because some people forget that they can utilize that information. And it's interesting because a couple of times, I've coached some people in the past and just mentioned to them, those videos that you've recorded, transcribe them, use them as a blog. And they're like, I didn't even think I could do that. I forgot about that. Like, it's just common sense. But, we all pass on something along the way in every conversation we have. And so I'd love to ask you, this would lead me to the next thing. For anyone who is starting a wisdom business out there, whether it be coaching, live, or whatever, what steps would you suggest that they would start with if they're brand new and they're contemplating going online?
I would say guest on podcasts, get on summits, Get on other people's platforms and get out there. Because a lot of people try to start themselves and they're like, I'm going to do a workshop. And then like 2 people show up to it, or zero people show up to the workshop. But if you start looking for people to guest on their platforms or to partner with people to do an event, then you're already bringing in a bigger audience and you're getting more known. You're getting more visibility.
Yeah.
And it's your business, yes, but there's this common belief by entrepreneurs out there that I got to do it on my own. I got to make it on my own.
Exactly.
It's crap. Okay. It's just,
no,
don't do it on your own. The sooner you can get more people in your business, the faster your business is going to grow, the bigger reach you're going to have so you can share your wisdom with more people. Yeah.
And it's interesting that, isn't it? Because a lot of people say, when you go into an entrepreneur world, it's very, there's just solitude, like you're just by yourself. But in actual fact, I think we're the most community-based environment. There's just so many communities out there that you could be a part of, and groups and so forth, that you can't have an excuse and say, I'm alone, I did it all by myself. No. You got to do it with other people.
But this is it. A lot of times people's ego drives them. They want to be able to say, I did it on my own. And that's actually something that's going to cripple your business.
Yeah.
Right? I remember the first time I partnered with someone, I just started out, I was doing these workshops and I was getting anywhere from 0 to 4 people coming out for these workshops.
Right.
And I was driving around Toronto to different places to see if the different places worked out. I remember one time I drove an hour. There were 16 people registered for this workshop. I thought this is going to be amazing. 0 people showed up. I just sat there for an hour waiting in case anyone showed up.
Oh, God.
Right. And so that was just, I'm starting off. I'm just trying to figure all this out. And then I was talking to one of my friends. She was going through a divorce. She was having a whole bunch of issues. And I said, can I just coach you for a little while? And she's like, what? Because we were meeting at a social thing. She didn't even know what I did. We just knew each other. Right? And I said, this is what I do for work. Can I just do it with you? And she's like, okay. So I did what I do. And then the next time we got together, which was like 2 weeks, we have like a regular every 2 week coffee thing. And I walk through the door at the coffee shop and she looks at me. She comes rushing up to me. She goes, what the hell did you do to me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I've been trying to resolve that divorce for 2 years. I woke up the next morning and there was just clarity after you worked on me. I got it resolved in 2 days.
Wow.
And she goes, people need to know what you do. And I'm like, I would love that. She goes, I'm an event organizer. We're going to put on an event for you. I will bring the people in. And I'm like, okay, what do I have to do? She goes, we just have to split the profits. I'm like, how? She goes, we'll just go 50-50. What do you charge? I said, right now, $10 a person. She goes, that's ridiculous. You're charging $40 a person. Like, okay, $40 a person. I'm like, Jesus, that's 4 times. Will anyone show up? But she's like, no, 40 times. And then we split it. So I'm like, even if I get the same amount of people, I've made twice as much money. Right. And I'm used to getting 4 max. 40 people came out to the first two. And I was like, oh, I get it now. You got to partner with people. You got to partner with the right people.
Yes. So. And look, you know what? Today, putting out a blog post this week, and it's about paths crossing. Every person we meet, there is something that, energy that transfers one way or both ways. You just don't know what is going to come out of a connection, a crossroad, or from anyone that you meet, and someone that you least expect that, you'll get anything out of. And in this situation, you obviously thought, at least I get some experience and someone can sort of be a testimonial for me. It's amazing. It is a mindset thing, isn't it?
The thing I've learned to do is when I'm talking to you, I can tell when your conscious beliefs match your unconscious, right? So you'll say something and I'm like, it's not actually true. And you're like, no, it is. Is it true? And I'm like, no, it's not true. Like one of the biggest ones is money. People will come to me, I need to make a lot more money. And I'm like, no, you don't. So yes, I do. I said, that's not reading as true. And then I'll ask them, okay, so what if you made an extra $100,000 this year? Would that be a great thing? They said, of course, that extra $100,000 a year. Oh my God. Then I could just travel if I wanted to. I'd have my bills taken care of. Everything would be wonderful. And I'm like, that's not what your body language is saying at all right now. Your body language is saying that would be the worst thing ever. And so then we'll explore it a little deeper. Go, okay, what else will happen when you make an extra $100,000 a year? And there's a few big ones that are very common. And I think the most common one is, when my family and friends know I have that much money, they're going to start asking me for money. They're going to ask to invest in it.
And that's the blockage, is it?
Yeah. And the fact that you don't want to have that conversation, and it's not even the conversation, you don't want to have the feelings that come with that conversation, whether it's frustration or guilt or whatever it is when you have it. Your mind places feelings as the highest priority over anything physical. So it would rather you be poor than feel guilty for not giving money to people.
Because it's trying to protect you.
Yes, that's its solution. I won't have to feel guilty if I don't have the money, so then I don't have to say, no, I'm not going to give it to you. Right? And I've seen people that have made a lot of money and then they lost it. And then they're trying to make it again, but their mind says, oh my God, we felt so much shame the last time we lost the money. I'm not going to let us get that much money because then we can't lose it and feel the shame again. So we're just going to stay where it's nice and safe.
Yeah.
And another common one is my parents, my dad, my mom, or both of them worked really hard to just get by and provide for the family. And if I make lots easily, it's going to be disrespectful to them. I don't want them to feel like I'm just like, after all they did for me. And so you're just like, nope, not going to.
You feel like you're rubbing it in their face or something.
And it's just, you don't want to feel guilty for that. So your brain's like, nope, we're not going to make the money because I can't do that to my parents.
Yeah.
These things just come up and you don't know they're there because you're just like, why am I not making the money? I'm trying really hard.
Part of this conversation, but conversation I'm having with you right now is so time appropriate. It's amazing.
Well, when it comes to sharing wisdom, there's that, what if they say that's not wise? I don't want that kind of feedback. And so you'll keep yourself small. You'll keep yourself not as visible as you can in case someone at some point says, oh my God, you're full of crap. Right? And this is the thing, if you're listening right now to this and you're having an emotional reaction to any of these things I'm bringing up, then your subconscious is keeping you small, keeping your income low, keeping you invisible. Because if you're going, oh shoot, I don't want that either. Yeah. You're at some level, you're making sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that and then start to shift those beliefs. But I mean, that was when I first started off, that was one of the other things, because especially when you're starting off, have you learned it? Have I got enough wisdom yet? What if I start sharing it and I find out what I learned wasn't right? And so you stay small, you go in little increments, then talk to more people, get that feedback until you feel comfortable enough to go a little bigger. Yeah. But if you, and here's the thing, absolutely care about other people, but don't care what they think about you. Okay. That's going to stop you. Yes. Yes. Yeah. And when you get to that space that you just don't care what they think about you, you get so much freedom in your life. You get all these possibilities roll in, all these opportunities show up. And it's crazy because when you care, you're worried about getting this negative feedback. And I found out when you don't care, you get way less negative feedback. So you actually step into this authentic you and people are like, oh my God.
That's what I was going to say. It's the transparency, isn't it? It's like you're just being authentic. You're being yourself. And people appreciate people who are themselves. I needed this conversation today. I was just recently watching with my husband. We love Formula One. So we were watching the Formula One show, which is on one of the streaming services. And one of the drivers, his teammate happened to be doing really well in the exact same car. And he himself as the driver was saying, I can't go faster. It's not possible. The guys in his ear were saying, yeah, but your teammate's doing exactly the same thing in exactly the same car, but he's going faster. So it's not an excuse. You can go faster. And he kept saying, no, but it's not. I've got a different car. Like he was coming up with all these excuses before he could believe that it was him. And obviously it's a pride thing. It's an ego thing. No, it's not me. It's not me. But I think we all have that, barrier that we place, and we need a lot of people like you around to teach us that, get rid of those bloody barriers. They're not there. They're not existent. You can keep going.
Well, it's interesting because if it's not your fault, right, then you don't have to feel guilty about any bad things you've created in your life. Yeah. So again,
blame something else.
But here's the thing. If you say, oh my God, it's all my fault, and don't go into guilt. Guilt is actually a choice. You don't have to feel guilty about anything, but people think that they do, and they feel like it's not a choice, but it's actually fully a choice. So when you say I'm making everything in my life, I'm making all the crap, and I'm making all the good things. And sometimes I've created a ton of crap. But that just shows how frigging powerful I am. That I could create that much crap shows how powerful I am. And when you start to just sort of embrace that philosophy, then every time you create something good or bad, you're like, I did that. I did that. And then you start to say, okay, how am I going to do this better? How am I going to create more of the good things? And that full ownership just takes things to another level. There was one time my roommate and I we go to a movie once a month. And the movie theater's like 3-minute drive away. So we get in this truck, we drive to the movie, and then we come back. But this one month, they were having these 80s classic films at another theater that was like 40 minutes away. And I said, let's go see 2 or 3 80s movies, the big ones from that. It'll be so cool on the big screen. And he's like, okay, I'm in. Let's do this. And then we're leaving, and I'm heading to his truck, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, go in your truck. We always drive in your truck. He goes, we drive in my truck when it's 2 minutes away. This is 40 minutes. We're getting in your car. So we get in my car, we start driving. 5 minutes into the drive, my dashboard starts to light up with every single warning light. And it's so bright, he looks over and goes, what the hell's going on over there? For the message. And I'm like, I have no idea. He goes, we better turn around. So we turn around, we come back, park my car there. We get in his truck, we go to the movies, we come back. The next day I take my car into the shop. I come back and I said $1,000 to repair everything that just went wrong with me. And he looks at me and he goes, wow, you really didn't want to drive to that movie. And I went, I really did not want to drive to that movie. And I just owned it. I was willing to do $1,000 worth of damage to my car just so I didn't have to drive to that damn movie. Just when you get it, when you embrace that attitude, and there's no guilt and you play with it and you have fun with it. I now create things like that all the time. Like instead of the bad things, now it's like, you know what? I'd really like to go on this vacation, and then I'll get a $5,000 client, right? And I'm like, I guess I'm going on that vacation because I can do anything as long as I'm in that state.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because I know I've, like in the past, you know, a business that I've run online and so forth. And in the past, you have your ups and down months, you know, the sales and so forth. And I remember there was a period there where I would say to myself, I just need this figure in the bank. I just need this, and it will get me through to the next one, and I can possibly use that to grow. But because I had real reason and passion, I sometimes feel it's because of that urgency. I don't know. There was something that made me feel like maybe that's why, you know, my questions or my needs were answered at that point.
This is why, you know,
I'm constantly problem solving. Of course.
But it'll problem solve even when you're not thinking about the problem. And this is what, especially when I use computers, this is what the big thing. If you get stuck in a problem, leave it, and then come back to it the next day, and then all of a sudden it's there. It's like the answer will come to you in the shower or whatever, because your brain is constantly working on it. But what happens when people are trying to take things to another level, just like that race car driver, they're thinking about everything that is going to go wrong, why they can't do it. And so there's no problem to solve. There's just excuses. But your thing was, if I could just do this. And you started to problem solve, right? And so even when you let it go, your brain was still working on it. And then suddenly, let's do this. And it's just amazing, because you'll start to see possibilities that weren't there before. And they actually were there, but you just didn't see them. And you're like, oh my God, that just showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it's like I love Sudoku. So I would be working on Sudoku and then put it down. I can't continue. And then the next day I come up, go back to it and go, okay, there we go. There's yes.
That's exactly it. So when you shift your whole way of thinking from, I'd really like to do this, I'll work on it a little bit, but if I don't get anywhere, that's fine. I know my brain will take care of it. Then your brain will just, in the background, keep working on the problem. And a day or two or whatever it is, you'll get, I have an idea.
It's like belief. You just got to believe in yourself, don't you? And it really comes down to, I think, that. Just believe you can do it. And, like they say, do anything you put your mind to. The mind is so powerful. And I think a lot of us kind of forget that, don't we?
It is. And the funny thing is, it works better in ease than in frustration.
Yeah.
Right. And people don't get that, because you have these things in your life that, just are. This is just how it works. And for other people, that just isn't how it works. Something else works that way. Like, it's just crazy. But for you, it's so matter of fact that that's just what happens. And when you get to that space where that's just what happens, it happens. It has no choice. It always happens. Right? And it's just like, if you hold something up and I say, okay, I'm going to let go of this thing, what's going to happen? Like, it's going to drop. There's no doubt in people's minds that it's going to drop. It's just what happens. And if you can get that kind of an attitude, well, I double my income every year. What? Yeah, that's just what happens. Then your mind will make sure that happens because the doubt is gone. It'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's getting to that point where there's no doubt. That's just what happened.
I'd love to ask you, and this is just not a normal question I'd ask. What if you're someone, and this is probably a block that many of us conjure up, I guess, but what if you are partnering with someone and the person that you partner with has their own strong blocks, and you know they have their blocks, and you yourself is, just quite open to a number of things? Do you have suggestions for people who are like that, say they're wanting to start something online, but they've got a partner or someone that is just not on the same tune as them?
So there's a couple layers to that.
Right.
Because number one is that person you're working with someone that's open to change so that you can shift them from that negative thing. But what's more likely is happening is you've got blocks. So you chose a partner that has blocks. So he's the excuse and not you.
Yeah.
I just recently let go of a partner I was working with because we were in two completely different places.
Yeah.
We were at a coaching session. I paid for these coaches was like the coaches I work with are like 7-figure coaches. Mm-hmm. And I had paid for what they call a VIP day, mm-hmm. which is 8 hours with the coaches, $8,000. During the coaching, something came up about a thing we were going to launch this year. And the initial sales call where we had a whole bunch of people coming in, she asked, well, how many people do you think you're going to close? And there were like 15, 16 people coming. And I said, probably 10. And she said, probably 1. And she goes, did you just notice how disparate you guys are and how much success you can create? You said 10. She said 1. I'm like, oh. And it just hit me. It's like, I shouldn't have that small a success rate.
Yeah, they're being very safe or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Then after that, or it hadn't quite sank in, but a few more things happened. Then I said, you know what? No, this is not going to work. It's just I've chosen this wrong person and it's causing me to play small. Mm-hmm. And so when I shifted this year, like that was December of last year, this year, everything's just blowing up. I'm going to be on over 200 stages this year. Defining a stage as a podcast, live stage, online stage, radio show, TV, but over 200 this year. Mm. And it sounds impressive, but at the same time,
busy.
You think about it's busy, but no, but even that, if you look at it just in terms of podcasts, if you're on a podcast and you're on for half an hour, that you can be on 4 a week, and that's 200 stages, and that's only 2 hours of your time each week, right? So it doesn't require that much time. Yeah. Right? But there will be. But I do have live stages booked up, and summits I'm going to be on. So there is going to be a bigger time commitment. But if you just make a commitment to be on 100 stages a year, to get your word out, it's not that hard.
And you mentioning that, I was just talking to my podcast assistant saying, I've got to do a few more bookings. Well, you've been amazing to chat to, and I've got to ask you, were there any major lessons? Is there anything that you've changed in what you teach based on, just life, how you've grown through this and so forth, how you might have experienced things?
There's always changes that go along as you go. I think one of the biggest things was I stopped telling people to always be positive. And because we're human beings, we're not always going to be positive. It's actually unhealthy to be positive. My coaches, not all of them, a couple of my coaches that taught me, you've always got to be positive, always look on the bright side. I tried doing that, but it'll actually burn you out. Right. And the thing is, if you allow yourself to feel the negative emotions and just let them process, then you'll naturally come back to a positive state, and probably a lot faster than if you try to be positive and just keep having all these breakdowns and try to fake it.
Yeah.
So that's a big lesson and a change in the teaching I had with people. And the other thing is learning to see people where they are. Because a lot of times you're working with people, whether it's a partner or a client, or even when you're trying to share your wisdom and people aren't getting it, you'll go into this judgment of them. Why aren't you getting this? What's wrong with you? Why are you saying these things? Why do you behave this way? And it's because you want people to be at the same space as you. You want them to see it from your point of view. And when you just start to let them be who they are and say, oh, okay, I see where you are. That's where you are.
Yeah.
Then relationships get so much easier because you're accepting them as them.
we're all individual. We'll, have our own special quirks and so forth. Everyone's going to be different. When you actually share your information and you're trying to sort of help broaden their perspective on things, do you think that people are introverts, truly introverts, or they can expand further?
It depends on that person. There are some people that are just always going to be introverts, but there are some that are living from stories growing up. And when you adjust those stories, they completely change. I have had clients that were shy and timid, and now they're just like in your face and happy and boisterous. And you're like, who are you? So that could happen. It's funny because you actually, just a little aside, you reminded me of one of my friends who's an introvert. She had gone on, meetup.com.
Yes.
Okay, so she had created an introvert meetup, and then she had arranged for everyone to get together at a subway station to go for a walk in the park. And it was just going to be a quiet walk, so no one had to really talk and everything because they were introverts, but they could spend some time together. Right. And the problem was she got to the subway and she didn't have like a sign or anything to say, I'm the person to talk to. And so all these introverts were there, but no one was, they were too afraid to talk to each other. Aww. And it was like half an hour before she got the nerve to come up to people and go, are you waiting for this? Oh yeah, we are. Okay. And she started gathering people together.
Sweetheart. But isn't it true? It's like you've got to think of, like you said before, your audience and what they're, going through and so forth. But yeah, and that's why I was wondering, because sometimes we have blocks, and, introvert was just an example there, but it's just, like you said, don't always think positive. You've got to think of the negative things. And when you mentioned that before, that you don't teach people just be positive, because when you mentioned that, my mind went straight to, well, you kind of have to go through the challenges in life, and you've got to accept that some things just aren't working. Mm-hmm. So then you can go into the problem solving mode. Yes. And you're learning from it. You're actually, when you go into problem solving, you're trying to fix a problem. Yes. And when you go through that fixing problem stage, it's like you're actually rewarded because you fixed it, and then all of a sudden you're an even better person for it. Whereas if you say, oh, no, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fine, you kind of become delusional, don't you? It's like, no, it's not fine. Like it's raining, you need an umbrella. Like if you want to keep yourself dry. You can't tell yourself, it's going to stop raining, it'll be fine.
You're right, though, because the analogy I've used with a lot of people is they said, I asked, if you're working on something, but it's not working and you're putting a lot of effort, if you put more effort and more focus and more determination in it, will you then finally break through and solve it? And people are like, yeah. And I said, okay, so let me ask you this. Say you're a fly at a window and you're trying to get outside of a house. You can see the goal right through that window. Now, all you have to do is put more effort and bash your face against that window harder and harder, and you will eventually get out, won't you? And they're like, no. And I said, okay, but let's say there's an open door 5 feet away from you. All you have to do is step back, look around, see the possibilities, and you can solve this really, really easily. But you have to allow yourself to fail at that thing you're doing because you're going to succeed in the long run.
That's really good advice. I like to ask my guests this, but what legacy are you looking to leave, whether it be personal or business?
Probably my books. And I'm working on a few more right now, and I just want to leave that legacy. So right now I've got How to Rewrite Reality as my nonfiction, and teaches you how to do just that. But I also have a fiction book called Defenders of the Scroll, which is book 1 of 3. And I haven't finished books 2 and 3 yet. And I want to get them done so that legacy is there to leave.
Yeah.
And it's young adult fantasy with somewhere between Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. Well, you've been amazing to chat to, Shiraz. Like, just the conversation has been really uplifting, and you've ignited a few thoughts there, a few questions that I have. But anyway, hopefully we've done the same for our audience. But do you have an actual, offer that you'd like to present to our audience today?
Sure. I have these audios I've made, and there's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and a 12-minute audio. And they're focusing audio. So basically when you listen to them, they're just going to guide you on focusing on certain things. Mm-hmm. And this is important because the more you can learn to focus on a specific thing for an extended period of time, the more you can, number one, it lights up certain areas of the brain that are needed to problem solve, to stay on task, and to be calm in high pressure situations. So this is what these audios will do for you. And if you're into the sort of woo area and are into manifestation, it takes about 17 to 35 seconds of focused thought on one thing to start manifestation. And most people can't do that. They say human attention span is like less than 7 seconds now. Oh. These audios teach you how to focus on one thing so you can manifest in a bigger way. Most important is there's a program I'm using now that they use similar things, not exactly what I use, but it's basically teaching you how to focus. And they've got data, there's a white paper coming up in May that shows how it rewires the brain to get from a negative space to a positive space. So you get more and more positive results. So just listen to these audios. The longest one, the 12-minute one, is the one I do every single morning. And I didn't even know it was doing this to me till I found out about this other program. I went, wait, what? I've been doing that and I didn't even know it. But the cool thing is, it's not like people say you need to meditate for an hour or whatever. Yeah. You only need to do that 2-minute minimum. And you can do it multiple times through the day. If you can get at least 12 minutes in there in the day and split it up, you're good to go. Just do it every day. But you can do 12 minutes all at once, or you can split it up into the 5s and the 2s and the whatever. And if you go more, it's even better for you. So that's what.
Well, I'm going to get on there and do that myself too now. All about manifestation, all about that. I would love to ask you, there's just one question I do want to ask you, and it's about how people resonate with your approach. You're known, for obviously being a speaker and so forth, but why do you think people resonate with how you approach your message?
When I'm talking to people, things click, things that they didn't realize were working, like they thought they weren't working for some reason. And I say, no, it's not working because of this reason. Oh my God. Right. And that's, I think, why they resonate, because it's filling in missing pieces for them.
Yeah.
Right. One of the big ones that people, like just about everyone can relate to this, is have you ever gone to a workshop or taken a course or gone to a big seminar and you've come out of it and you're like, oh my God, this is life changing. Everything's going to be different now.
Yeah.
A few weeks or a few months later, you're back where you started.
Yes.
Have you noticed that? Yeah. There is a reason for that. And it's something I teach people. And it's basically like, what happened is you've got this belief system, and it's like, think of a Jenga tower. And during that workshop, you pulled out a whole bunch of blocks from the Jenga tower, but you didn't pull enough to topple the tower. So it feels different. Everything may even look different. You might even get different results. But because you didn't topple the tower, what you end up doing is slowly putting the blocks back unconsciously and not knowing it. And then finally it's back to solid. You're like, oh, what the hell just happened? I spent all that money on that retreat. I had the results for a little while. Why am I back to where I started?
And how do you suggest then, like, obviously if you go to these things and you say that, you just didn't completely topple over, is that just because someone hasn't taken enough out of, absorbed enough, or is it just a personal thing?
It's going to be personal for each person, because there are people that go to them and the right blocks come out and they topple, and you hear about the, it's, oh my God, everything changed. But for you, it wasn't enough, or it wasn't the right blocks. And so, but the thing is, it doesn't mean that you've lost it, because once you're out of that, you have to continue to do work that they taught you or very similar to what they taught you, so that more and more blocks come out, and it will eventually fall. But I found it takes about 6 months of continued work for the average tower to fall. Right. Every now and then you get that fast result because the person already had a bunch of blocks. They were ready to go.
Yeah.
Right? But for the average person, it's going to take 6 months of consistent work to topple the tower. It's basically breaking the addiction of the old habits, the old reality.
Right. Okay.
And then when people hear that, they're going, oh my God, that's because that's happened to me. I've done that. And I thought everything, that's what was going on. Oh, you can go back and do the same workshop and then follow up and you'll get the results.
Yeah.
Right? So it's because it's still there. That process is still there to change you with whoever you're working with.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to continue the work to topple the tower.
And that's for someone, obviously. Now I'm going to actually ask you this based on the coach's perspective. So if you're finding you have students that come back to you and they say, look, this just it hasn't completely toppled over, for example. Yep. What do you suggest they do? It's basically just re-invite them back again and say, come on, let's just do this again. Or what do you suggest in those situations?
For most of the times I say, let's keep working on it. But I'm not in this place of ego, like we can keep working until it gets done. I'll say, if there's someone else that you think can do this better, then go to them, because I want what's best for you. But I've had people that work with me, and what happens is it's crazy, because they're trying to topple this tower and it's not going. But then this other tower topples because they've had similar beliefs. And so they get a breakthrough in another area of their life. And then they get one woman I've been working with, and I think 6 years now, and she's been looking to have a wonderful, loving relationship. And it's finally, after 6 years, she's got that wonderful, loving relationship. And she's just like, oh my God, there it is. And people will say, it took 6 years for her to get that relationship. I'm like, yeah, but in that 6 years, she's tripled her income. She lives in the view of the ocean and the mountains, when she was in a tiny little place in the suburbs before, in a different city. Right. She's healthier than she's ever been. She's got her business of her own where she was working. So like all this other stuff happened. Right?
And it's probably those things had to happen for her to get to that.
Exactly. She feels so much better about who she is as a person.
Right.
Who she was before didn't feel like she deserved that relationship. And now she totally feels like she deserves it. And boom, it just shows up out of nowhere. Right.
Yeah, amazing.
So, amazing. But sometimes that's the process. And that's why, like, she didn't give up during those 6 years, because everything just kept getting better.
Yeah.
Right? So just have to make sure that last piece was in place.
That is a good way to leave this conversation, I think, Shiraz, because that is a really good, bit of advice there, I think, for people to realize that you might have a set goal, but realize that if it doesn't happen overnight, it's probably because there's all these other things that you've got steps that you've got to create and finalize, little check boxes before you get to that final one. Again, you're amazing, Shiraz, and the chat we've had today, has been very inspiring. And I hope our audience has been inspired and had a little ignite somewhere along the way. All the details to Shiraz's offer and everything will be in our podcast summary. And be sure to click on the link, and don't forget to subscribe to the Wise Dome podcast. Thanks again, Shiraz, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. It's been so much fun.
Thanks for listening to the Wise Dome podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at Wise Dome Podcast, WISEDOME podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.